Isaac Myers writes that 0 to 1 ends with 1 to 0, and Rabbi Moses Cordovero in his Pardis Romonim soliloquizes that the number 10 is an all-embracing number. Outside of it, there exists no other, for what is beyond 10 returns again to units. Kesser, the crown, is in the first Sephirah. As the first cause are demiurgos, it is also called macroprosopis, or the great continents, in the Zohar. The number 1 has been defined by Theon of Smyrna as the principle and element of numbers, which, while multitude can be lessened by subtraction, and is itself deprived of every number, remains stable and firm. The Pythagoreans said that the monad is the beginning of all things, and gave it, according to Photius, the name of God. The first of all things, the maker of all things. It is the source of ideas. To each Sephirah, the doctrinal Kabbalah attributes intelligences variously called gods. Dayan, Kohans, angels, and spirits, etc. For the whole universe in this philosophy is guided and animated by a whole series of these hierarchies of sentient beings, each with a particular function and mission, varying in their respective degrees and states of consciousness and intelligence. There is but one indivisible and absolute consciousness thrilling throughout every particle and infinitesimal point in the manifested universe in space. But its first differentiation by emanation or reflection is purely spiritual and gives rise to a number of beings, which we may call gods, their consciousness being of such a nature or such a degree of sublimity as to surpass our comprehension. From one point of consideration, the gods are the forces of nature, their names are the laws of nature. They are therefore eternal, omnipresent, and omnipotent. Only, however, for the cycle of time, almost infinite though it be, wherein they are manifested or projected. The names of the gods are important, for according to magical doctrine, to know the name of an intelligence is at once to possess peculiar control of it. Professor W. M. Flinders Petrie, in his little work on the religion of ancient Egypt, states that the knowledge of the name gave power over its owner. We find attributed to the crown, the first digit, the attribution of the god name of Ahe, translated by I will be, signifying definitely that the scheme of nature is not a static one, nor a system of existence wherein the creative processes have long been consummated, but vibrant, progressive, and ever becoming. Its Egyptian gods are Ptah, who again according to Professor Flinders Petrie was one of the abstract gods, as distinguished from human or cosmic gods, and the creator of the cosmic egg. And Amun-Ra, with whom Osiris became identified, king of the gods and lord of the thrones of the world. Its Greek equivalent is Zeus, identified in the Roman theogony as Jupiter, the greatest of the Olympian gods, and is generally represented as the omnipotent father and king of gods and men. The Romans considered Jupiter as the Lord of heaven, the highest and most powerful among the gods, and called him the best and most high. In the Indian systems, he is Brahma, the creator, from whose sprang the 7 Prajapati, our 7 lowest Sephiros, who, at his behest, completed the creation of the world. The diamond is attributed to Kesser, because it is the most permanent and glittering of precious jewels. For various reasons, too, the ancients made the swan a correspondence of this digit. In the legends of all peoples, the swan is the symbol of spirit and ecstasy. The Hindu legends narrate that the swan, Hansa, when given milk mixed with water for its food, separated the two. When given milk with water for its food, separated the two, drinking the milk and leaving the water, this being supposed to show its transcendent wisdom. The hawk also is a correspondence, bearing in mind that Kesser, in the monad, the individual point of view, we can understand that the hawk is so attributed because it has the habit of remaining poised in midair, looking down from the blue ether to earth, and beholding all things with the eye of utter detachment. Ambergris, that rarest and most precious of perfumes, while having little perfume in itself, is most admirable, as the basest of compounds, bringing out the best of any other with which it may be mixed, finds its place in this category of ideas. The color attributed to Kesser is white. Its taurotic attributions are the four aces, and it is called in Sefer Yetzirah the admirable or hidden intelligence. According to Rabbi Azrael's commentary on the 10 Sephiros, each of the Sephiros has three distinct qualities. First, it has its own Sephirothal function, already described. Its secondary aspect is that it receives from the previous Sephiros, or from above, in the case of Kesser, and third, it transmits its own nature and that received from above to those Sephiros below. Two, Chakma. The first Sephirah, the essence of being, spirit matter, contained in essence and potentiality the other 9 Sephiros and gave rise to them in a process which can be mathematically stated. S. Liddell McGregor Mathers asked, how is number 2 to be found? He answered the question in his introduction to the Kabbalah Unveiled, by reflection of itself. For although 0 be incapable of definition, 1 is definable. And the effect of a definition is to form an idealon, duplicate or image of the thing defined. Thus then we obtain a dual composed of 1 and its reflection. Now also we have the commencement of a vibration established, for the number 1 vibrates alternately from changelessness to definition and back to changelessness. Isaac ibn Latif, 1220 to 1290 AD, also furnishes us with a mathematical definition of the processes of evolution. As the point extends and thickens into a line, the line into the plane into the expanded body, so God's manifestation unfolds itself. If we try for a moment to think, what is the ultimate differentiation of existence? We shall find that so far as we can grasp it, it is a plus and minus, positive and negative, male and female, and so we should expect on the tree of life to find that the 2 emanations succeeding Kesser partake of these characteristics. We ascertain that the second Sephirah, Chokmah, or wisdom, is male, vigorous, and active. It is called the Father, the divine name being Yol, and the choir of angels appropriate being the Aphanim. Tahuti, or Thoth, is attributed to this Sephirah of wisdom, for he was the god of writing, learning, and magic. Thoth is represented as an ibis-headed god, and occasionally has an ape or baboon in attendance. Pallas Athena, insofar as she is the giver of intellectual gifts and one in whom power and wisdom are harmoniously blended, the goddess of wisdom who sprang full-armed from the brain of Zeus, is attributed to Chokmah. In Greek mythology, she appeared as the preserver of human life and instituted the ancient court of the Areopagus at Athens. She is also Minerva in the Roman system, whose name is considered by philologists to contain the root of mens. To think she is accordingly the thinking power personified. Maat, the goddess of truth, linked with Thoth, is another Egyptian correspondence. Uranus as the starry heavens, and Hermes as the logos and the transmitter of the influence from Keser also are attributions. In Taoism, the positive yang would correspond to this Sephirah. Chokmah is the vital energizing element of existence. Spirit, or the Purusha, of the Sankhyan philosophy of India, by which is implied the basic reality underlying all manifestations of consciousness. In Blavatsky's system, Chokmah would be what is there named Mahat, or cosmic ideation. With the Buddhists of China, this is Quan Shi Yin. Vishnu and Ishvara with the Hindus. Chokmah is the word, the Greek logos, and the memra of the Targum. The Sefer Yetzirah names it the illuminating intelligence. Its planet is Uranus, although traditionally the sphere of the zodiac is allocated there too. Its color is gray, its perfume the orchidic musk, plant the amaranth, which is the flower of immortality, and the 4 twos of the tarot. Its precious stones are the star ruby representing the male energy of the creative star, and the turquoise suggesting its Maslows, the sphere of the zodiac. The Zohar also attributes to Chokmah the first letter Yod of the tetragrammaton YHVH, a formula which will be more fully explained later. The Yod also has attributed to it the 4 kings of the tarot. The attributions of the tetragrammaton should be very carefully followed, for much of Zoharic speculation devolves upon them. 3. Binya. Chokmah gives rise to Binya, the third Sephirah. Ma is the mother, which is negative, female, and passive. It will be necessary to consult the accompanying diagram to note the formation of the tree as it proceeds. 3 is Binya, then translated by understanding, and to its attributed Saturn, the oldest of gods, and the Greek Kronos, the god of time. She is Frigg, the wife of the Norse Odin, and mother of all the gods. 3 also is Sakti, the consort of the god Shiva, who is the destroyer of life. Sakti is that universal electric vital power which unites and brings together all forms, the constructive power that carries out in the formation of things the plan of the thought divine, which is Chokmah. Binya is Maya, the universal power of illusion. Kuan Yin of Chinese Buddhism, the Yin of Taoism. The goddess Kali of the Orthodox Hindu religions, and the great sea wherefrom we all are sprung. The Hindu forearm image of Kali is most graphic. From her neck hangs a garland of skulls, and round her waist is a girdle of human arms, made of gold. In her lowest left hand she holds a decapitated human head, also made of gold, and in the upper a sword. With her lower right hand she offers boons to her devotees, with the upper a symbol to fear not. The skulls and the sword represent her terrible destructive side. Kali and her right hand offering boons and fearlessness, her benignant side similar to that conveyed by the Egyptian conception of Isis. She is both terrible and sweet like nature, alternately destroying and creating. In the theosophical system, one aspect of Binah is Mula Prakriti, or cosmic root substance, which, as Blavatsky states, must be regarded as objectively in its purest abstraction, the self-existing basis whose differentiations constitute the objective reality underlying the phenomena of every phase of conscious existence. It is that subtle form of root matter which we touch, feel, and breathe without perceiving, look at without seeing, hear and smell without the slightest cognition of its existence. The Kabbalah of Isaac Myers lays down the principle that matter, the spiritual passive substance of In Gabbaral, always corresponds with the female passive principle to be influenced by the active or the male, the formative principle. In short, Binah is the substantive vehicle of every possible phenomenon, physical or mental, just as Chokmah is the essence of consciousness. Its color is black, since it is negative and receptive of all things. the precious stone attributed hereto being the pearl, on account of its being the typical stone of the sea, and also referring to the manner in which the pearl has its origin within the dark womb of the oyster. Its Yetsiatric title is the sanctifying intelligence, its sacred plants the cypress lily and opium poppy, and the tarot cards appropriate are the 4 threes. Its symbol is the brooding dove, the true Shekinah, or Holy Spirit. The letter of Tetragrammaton is the first He, and the tarot attributed is the 4 queens. The first 3 Sephiros, denominated by the supernals, transcend in every possible way all the intellectual conceptions, and can only be realized by specialized training in meditation and practical Kabbalah. The supernals are separated by a great gulf, the abyss from which lies below them. The supernals are ideal. The other Sephiros are actual. The abyss is the metaphysical gap between. In one sense, they have no connection or relation with the inferiors. The lower 7 Sephiros reflected by them, just as space itself is independent of and unaffected by whether there is or is not anything manifested within its emptiness. The cause of the appearance of Kesar, the first Sephirah, the central dimensionless point, arouses tremendous problems. Lao Tzu teaches us that Tao produced unity, unity produced duality, duality produced trinity, and trinity produced all existing things. The doctrinal Kabbalah of Rabbi Azrael implies that Ein Sof, in order to create the world, the 10th Sephirah, was unable to do so directly, but did so through the medium of Keser, which in turn evolves the other Sephiroths or potencies culminating in Malchus and the external universe. The Zohar restates this hypothesis. But there is a difficulty, since it is obviously impossible for so abstract a conception as zero to do anything. Blavatsky, in her monumental work, The Secret Doctrine, recognizes the difficulty and endeavors to solve the problem by stating that the absolute or Ein, while incomprehensible in itself, has several aspects from which we can view it: infinite space, eternal duration, and absolute motion. The latter aspect is graphically conceived under the Hindu expression of the great breath of Brahma, ever coming and going, creating and destroying the worlds. With a cyclic inhalation, the universe is withdrawn and ceases to exist, but with exhalation, manifestation commences with the appearance of a laya, or neutral center, which we call Keser. This cyclic or periodic law of cosmic manifestation cannot be anything other than the will of the Absolute to manifest, in which case we are necessitated in all accuracy to fall back on to the old postulate that the Absolute manifests the laya point, or Keser, from which eventually all is to evolve. The view of another system is that the universe is eternal love, play, or lila in Sanskrit, or 2 forces, the positive point, the central point, or just making sure we didn't miss anything right there. From which eventually all is to evolve. The view of another system is that the universe is the eternal love play, lila in Sanskrit, of 2 forces, the positive being the central point Hadit, the negative absolute space, the latter depicted as the queen of space, Nuit. The blue-lidded daughter of sunset is conceived as saying, "For I am divided for love's sake, for the chance of union." This is the creation of the world, that the pain of division is as nothing, and the joy of dissolution all. In view of our Kabbalistic doctrine, however, of the inadequacy of the intellectual faculties to solve these insuperable philosophical problems, a fact which a number of loquacious Kabbalists constantly ignore or forget, it would be as well and much more sensible to admit that logically we cannot account for the existence of the first Sephirah from which everything else has been evolved. 4. Chesed. Number 4, called Chesed, mercy, begins the second triad of Sephiros, which is the reflection of the supernal triad beyond the abyss. The three primary or elementary colors are attributed to the Sephiros or this second trinity: blue to Chesed, red to Geburah, and yellow to Tepharaz. The fourth to the ninth Sephiros inclusive are known as the Sephiros Habanyon. The potencies of construction, and Myers holds that they symbolize the dimensions of matter, be it an atom or an universe, the four directions of space according to the Yetzirah, and the positive and negative poles of each of these. Chesed is male and positive, although the feminine quality of water is attributed. The Zohar gives Chesed another title, Gedulah, majesty or greatness, both of which are qualities of the great astrological Ben Jupiter, which is the planet attributed to Chesed. The Sefer Yetzirah gives it the title of receptacular intelligence. Because of the watery aspect of this Sephirah, we find the correspondence of Poseidon, the ruler of the seas, in mythology, and Jupiter, or rather that aspect of him which originally in earliest Rome, an elemental or tutelary divinity, worshipped as the god of rain, storms, and thunder. His Greek equivalent would be Zeus, armed with thunder and lightning, and the shaking of whose aegis produces storm and tempest. The Hindu attribution is Indra, lord of lightning and fire. Amon is the Egyptian god, and Thor, with the thunderbolt in his hand, is the Scandinavian correspondence. Aegir, the god of the sea, is the Norse sagas, might also be placed in this category, and the legends imply that he was skilled also in magic. Then we find is the planet governing the operation of practical magic, called the formula of Tetragrammaton. Its angels are said to be the brilliant ones, and its archangel is Tzedkiel, meaning the righteousness of God. The animals sacred to Chesed are the unicorn and the horse, the latter because Poseidon in legend created the horse and taught men the noble art of managing horses by the bridle. Its plants are the pine, olive, and shamrock. Its stone, the amethyst and sapphire. Blue is its color, and the tarot attributions are the fours, its metal being tin, and its perfume cedar. 5. Geburah. Chesed gives rise to Geburah, which is essentially a reflection of Binah. Geburah, meaning strength or power, is the fifth Sephirah, feminine, and to it is given the divine name of Elohim Gibor, the mighty gods. Despite the fact that Geburah is a feminine potency, as are all the Sephiros on the left-hand column of the tree, practically all its attributions are male and vigorous. There is an old alchemical aphorism: man is peace and woman is power. This concept is borne out in the Kabbalistic system. The three Sephiros, all male, of the right-hand column are called the pillar of mercy, whereas those three feminine Sephiros on the left constitute the pillar of severity. Most of the attributions given to Chesed, the male Sephirah, are feminine in quality. This is not confusion of thought, but a recognition of the necessity for equilibrium. The gods of Geburah are Mars, who even in popular parlance is the accredited god of war, and Ares of the Greeks, who is depicted as delighting in the din and roar of battle, in the slaughter of men, and in the destruction of towns. Geburah represents on a much lower plane the Sakti force element attributed to Binah. Seftis, the lady of severity, the shadowy double and sister of Isis, is attributed to this digit 5, and so we would naturally expect her to manifest in this Sephirah a quality similar to that of Binah, but much less pure as an abstract spiritual force. Thor is the Norwegian war god, and according to sagas, a scarlet cloud above his head reflected the fiery glint in his eyes. He was girded with strength and armor, and was drawn to battle in a chariot. The magical weapons of Geberah are the sword, spear, the scourge, and berin, all suggesting warfare and bloodletting. Its metal is iron, and its sacred tree the oak, both these attributions being quite obvious as implying strength. In fact, the quality of Geberah is summed up in the general ideas of strength and power and force. It has been suggested that these four and fifth Sephiros represent the expansive and contracting centripetal and centrifugal energies between the poles of the dimensions, acting under the will of the Logos Chokmah. Tobacco and the nettle are correspondences, both because of their fiery and stinging nature. Its color is red, obviously martial, and hence the ruby, which is bright scarlet, is harmonious. Its sacred creature is the legendary basilisk of the staring eye, and the tarot cards are the 4 fives. According to the Sefer Yetzirah, Geberah is named the radical intelligence. 6. Tepharas. The action of the fourth and fifth Sephiros, male and female, produce in reconciliation Tepharas, which is beauty and harmony. The diagram will show it is the center of the whole Sephirothal system, comparable to a sun, which indeed is its astrological attribution, with the planets revolving around it. Its gods are Ra, the Egyptian solar god, who is sometimes represented as a hawk-headed divinity, and others by a simple solar disk with 2 wings attached. The sun god of the Greeks, Apollo, in whom the brightest side of the Grecian mind is reflected. From Walter Pater's Greek studies, we learn that Apollo, the spiritual form of sunbeams, easily becomes the merely physical element in his constitution, being almost wholly suppressed. Exclusively ethical, the spiritual form of inward or intellectual light in all its manifestations, he represents all those specially European ideas, or a reasonable polity, of the sanity of soul and body. His religion is a sort of embodied equity, its aim being the realization of fair reason and just consideration of the truth of things everywhere. A parallel conception is found in that section of the Zohar entitled Idra Zuda. Tepharas is the highest manifestation Tepharas is the highest manifestation of ethical life, the sum of all goodness. In short, the ideal. Hari, the Hindu attribution, is another name for Sri Krishna, the divine of Avatara. Attributed here because being a divine incarnation, one in whom both spirit and matter were in complete equilibrium. He expressed the essential idea implied in Tepharas. Adonis, Iacchus, Rama, and Asar are other correspondences for 6, either because of their inherent nature of beauty or because they represent in one way or another the solar disk, to which all mystical psychology, ancient and modern, is unanimous in attributing this spiritual consciousness. The Sefer HaZohar denominates the hexagram of Sephiros clustered about Tepharas as the microprospus, or the lesser continents. The microprosopus, or the lesser continents. Dionysus is another god in the category of 6 because of his youth and gracious form, combining effeminate softness and beauty, or because of his cultivation of the vine, which ceremoniously used in the Eleusinian mysteries produced a spiritual intoxication analogous to the mystical state. It may be, too, because Dionysus is said to have transformed himself into a lion, which is the sacred animal of Tepharas. Being the king of wild beasts, and regality has always been depicted in the form of the lion. Astrological reasons may explain this parallelism, for Sol is exalted in the zodiacal sign of Leo, the lion, which was considered to be a creative symbol for the fierce mien of the midsummer sun. Bacchus, another name of Dionysus for purposes of worship, is the god of intoxication or of inspiration, a giver of superhuman or immortal life. In his notes on the Baccha of Euripides, Professor Gilbert Murray writes, with regard to Orphism, all true worshippers become, in a mystical sense, one with God. They are born again and are Bacchoi. Dionysus, being the God within, the perfectly pure soul, is possessed by the God wholly and becomes nothing but the God. The Scandinavian correspondence is in all probability the god Balder, the favorite of all nature, the son of Odin and Frigg. Anderson writes that it may be truly said of him that he is the best god, and all mankind are loud in his praise. In addition to the lion, the sacred animal of Tifaras is the fabulous phoenix, who tears open her breast so that her 7 young ones may feed upon the bloodstream and vitality is issuing from her wound. The pelican has a similar legend attached to it. They both suggest the idea of a redeemer giving his life for others, and Murray gives in his introductory notes above mentioned an interesting anecdote with a very similar implication. Semele, daughter of Cadmus, being loved by Zeus, asked her divine lover to appear to her once in his full glory. He came a blaze of miraculous lightning, in the ecstasy of which Semele died, giving premature birth to a son. Zeus, to save his child's life, and make him truly God as well as man, tore open his own flesh and therein fostered the child till in due time, by a miraculous and mysterious second birth, the child of Semele came to full life as God. The acacia, the Masonic symbol of resurrection, and the vine are the plants of Tifaras. Its perfume is the gum of Olibanum, its color yellow, because the sun, the source of spiritual existence and physical life alike, is its luminary. The tarot cards are the 4 sixes, and to Tifaras is given the title of sun and the letter V of the tetragrammaton, and the 4 princes of or knights or jacks of the tarot. The Sefer Yetzirah denominates the 6th Sephirah as the meditating intelligence. Its jewels are the topaz and yellow diamond, so attributed because of their color. 7. Nitzak. Tifaras completes the trinity of Sephiros, constituting the second triad, which in turn projects itself still further into matter, forming a third triad in the following manner. Nitzak is the first Sephirah of the third triad, meaning victory. Sometimes it is named eternity and triumph. It is the 7th potency, and to it is logically attributed the Nike, or victory. Nike, baby, victory. In his Greek studies, Walter Pater wrote, "Victory again" meant originally mythologic science tells us only the great victory of the sky, the triumph of morning over darkness. We're going to say that again. Victory again meant originally mythologic science tells us only the great victory of the sky, the triumph of morning over darkness. But that physical morning of her origin has its ministry to the later aesthetic sense also. For if Nike, when she appears in company with the mortal and wholly fleshly hero, in whose chariot she stands to guide the horses, or whom she crowns with her garland of parsley or bay, or whose name she writes on a shield, is imaginatively conceived, it is because the old Skiye influences are still not quite suppressed in her clear-set eyes, and the dew of the morning still clings to her wings and her floating hair. Astrologically, its planet is Venus. It should follow in consequence from that the gods and qualities of Nitzak relate to love, victory, and to the harvest. Aphrodite, Venus, is the lady of love and beauty, and with the power of bestowing her beauty and charms to others, the whole implication of the Sephirah is of love, albeit a love of a sexual nature. Hathor is the Egyptian equivalent and is a lesser aspect of the mother Isis. She is depicted as a cow goddess representing the generative forces of nature, and she was the protectress of agriculture and the fruits of the earth. Bhavani is the Hindu goddess of Niksak. Rose is the flower appurtenant, and red sandal is the perfume. It is common knowledge that in some diseases of a venereal origin, oils of sandalwood are employed. Benzoin is a perfume of Venus too, and its sensuous seductiveness is unmistakable. The rose is attributed as being harmonious to the character of Aphrodite. The Sefer Yetzirah calls Nitzak the occult intelligence. Its color is green, being derived from the union of the blue and yellow of Chesed and Tiferaz, and its tarot cards are the 4 sevens. Opposite to Nitzak on the tree of life is Had, splendor, the sphere of Mercury. The sphere of Mercury. Consequently, we find all its symbols definitively mercurial in quality. In order to give some idea of the implication of this Sephirah, an understanding of Hermes, the Greek god attributed to it, will be helpful. He is a god of prudence and cunning, shrewdness and sagacity, and is regarded as the author of a variety of inventions such as the alphabet, mathematics, astronomy, and weights and measures. He also presided over commerce and good luck, and was the messenger and herald of the Olympians. According to Virgil, the gods employed him to conduct the souls of the deceased from the upper to the lower worlds. In this latter capacity, the Egyptian jackal-headed Anubis is similar, since he was the patron of the dead and is depicted as leading the soul into the judgment of Cyrus in Amenti. It will help the student not a little if he remembers that the sphere of Had represents on a very much lower plane similar qualities to those obtaining in Chokmah. On Nitzak and Had, the 7th and 8th Sephiros, the Zohar soliloquizes that by victory and splendor is meant extension, multiplication, and force, because all the forces which we were born into the universe went out of their bosom. Because all the forces which were born into the universe went out of their bosom. The Hindu god is Hanuman, represented by an ape or monkey. Blavatsky gives at great length in The Secret Doctrine the interesting theory that within the apes are imprisoned the human souls of a solar mercurial nature, souls almost of the status of godhead called Manasupatras, mind-born sons of Brahma, which may explain why the Hindu god of mind and intelligence are represented by so apparently an unintelligent beast as the anthropoid. Its plant is moly, and its vegetable drug alanium. The whinny, which causes, when taken internally, visions of color rings and of an intellectual nature, enhancing self-analysis. Its perfume is thorax, its jewel opal, its color orange, derived from the red of Gabra and the yellow of Tiferaz. Its Yetziratic title being the absolute or perfect intelligence. The tarot attributions are the 4 eighths. 9. Nitzak and Had result in Yesod, the foundation, completing a series of 3 triads. Yesod is that subtle basis upon which the physical world is based, and according to both Eliphas Levi Zahid and Madame Blavatsky, it is the astral plane, which in one sense being passive and reflecting the energies from above is lunar. Even as the moon reflects the light from the sun, the astral light is an omnipresent and all-permeating fluid or medium of extremely subtile matter, substance in a highly tenuous state, electric and magnetic in constitution, which is the model upon which the physical world is built. It is the endless changeless ebb and flow of the world's forces that in the last resort guarantee the stability of the world, and provide its foundation. Yesod is this stable foundation, this changeless ebb and flow of astral forces and the universal reproductive power in nature. Everything shall return to its foundation from which it has proceeded. All marrow, seed, and energy are gathered in this place. Hence all the potentialities which exist go out through this Zohar. Its Egyptian god is Shu, who was the god of space, representing as lifting up Nuit, the god of heaven, from off the body of Seb, the earth. Its Hindu equivalent is Ganesha, the elephant god, who breaks down all obstacles and supports the universe while himself standing on a tortoise. Diana was the goddess of light and in the Roman temples represented the moon. The general conception of Yesod is of change and stability. Some writers have referred to the astral light, which is the sphere of Yesod, as the anima mundi, the soul of the world. The psychoanalyst Jung has a very similar concept, which he terms the collective unconscious, which, as I see it, differs in no wise from the Kabbalistic idea. Its plants are the mandrake and damiana, both of whose aphrodisiac qualities are well known. Its perfume is jasmine, also a sexual excitant. Its color is purple. Its Sefer Yitzra title, the pure or clear intelligence. It's number 9, and its tarot corresponds the 4 nines. An important consideration from the practical Kabbalistic viewpoint is the attribution of the moon, which, according to the occult tradition, is a dead yet living body whose particles are full of active and destructive life, of potent magical power. 10. Malchus. Pendant to the system of 3 triads and synthesizing all the former numbers is Malchus, the kingdom, the 10th Sephirah. Malchus is the world of the 4 elements, matter in its entirety, and all the forms proceed by our 5 senses, summing up in a crystallization the former 9 digits or series of ideas. Seb is the Egyptian god attributed to Malchus. Since he is figured with the head of a crocodile, the Egyptian hieroglyph of gross matter. Psyche, the lower Nephthys, and the unmarried Isis are other gods attributed. The virgin or the bride is another Zoharic title for Malchus, used, however, in a particular sense which will be considered in Chapter 5. Persephone is the virgin earth, and her legends indicate the adventures of the unredeemed soul. And Ceres is the maiden goddess of the earth, too. Other deities are Lakshmi, and the Sphinx, all attributed as representing the fertility of the earth and all of its creatures. In Malchus, the lowest of Sephiroth is the sphere of the physical world of matter, wherein incarnate that exiled Nescamos from the divine palace. There abides the Shekinah, the spiritual presence of Ein Sof, as a heritage to mankind and as an ever-present reminder of spiritual verities. That is why there is written Keser in the Malchus, and Malchus is in Keser, though after another manner. The Zohar would imply that the real Shekinah, the real divine presence, is allocated to Binah, whence it never descends, but that the Shekinah in Malchus is an Eidolon, or daughter of the great supernal mother. Isaac Miller suggests it is considered by Kabbalists as the executive energy or power of Binah, the Holy Spirit or the Upper Mother. The Sefer Yitzra denominates Malchus as the resplendent intelligence. Its perfume is Ditani of Crete, because of the heavy clouds of dense smoke given off by this incense. Its colors are citrine, olive, and russet, and black, and its tarot cards are the 4 tens. It is given by the Zohar, the final He of Tetragrammaton, and authority attributes to it the 4 princes cards of the tarot. Before proceeding to consider in the next chapter the numerous correspondences which appertain to the 22 paths of the Tree of Life, I feel it imperative to utter a word of warning with regard to a possible misconstruction that might be placed on some of the attributions which have been given to these sephiros and paths. For example, tobacco, Mars, the basilisk, and the sword are among those qualities which belong to the filing jacket of Geburah, or the fifth Sephirah. Yet the reader must here beware of making the almost unpardonable error of confusing the logical premises. Since all of these are correspondences of the number 5, then tobacco is a sword, and the god Mars is an equivalent of the basilisk. This is a real danger and a tremendous mistake of serious consequence. At the outset of the comparative study that is here being presented, the basic implication of this method of classification of the correspondences selected from comparative religions and philosophy should be thoroughly grasped. In this instance, all the 4 things mentioned above possess a certain quality or set of attributes of a similar nature which renders them in harmony with the filing jacket to which they have been attributed. There is an underlying connection which associates them with the number 5. This idea must be kept in mind throughout if any benefit is to be derived from the Kabbalah, and all confusion banished at the beginning. Chapter 4. The Paths. One of the several difficulties encountered in presenting a new scheme or a new interpretation of philosophy is the popular prejudice against new terminology. It is conceivable that objections will be raised against the Hebrew alphabet and the terms utilized by the Kabbalah by people who may overlook the fact that in the study of astronomy, physics, or chemistry, for example, a completely new nomenclature must be mastered. Even commerce uses a whole system of words and terms meaningless without a knowledge of commercial methods and procedure. The terminology used by the Kabbalah is so employed for several reasons. In Hebrew, there are no numerals, which derive from the Moors, but each letter of the alphabet is used for a number. This fact provides the basis whereon the Kabbalah rests, in deviating from ordinary ideas of numbers and letters. Each Hebrew letter has a multiple value. First, it has its individual position in the alphabet, and second, it has a numerical value. Third, it is attributed to some one of 32 paths on the tree of life. Fourth, it has a tarot card attribution. And fifth, it has a definite symbol or allegorical meaning when spelled in full. Blavatsky writes, every cosmology from the earliest to the latest is based upon, interlinked with, and most closely related to numerals and geometrical figures. Again, Blavatsky writes, every cosmogony from the earliest to the latest is based upon, interlinked with, and most closely related to numerals and geometrical figures. Hence we find numbers and figures used as an expression and a record of thought in every archaic scripture. Ginsburg, referring to Hebrew alphabet, states, since the letters have no absolute value, nor can they be used as mere forms, but serve as the medium between essence and forms, and, like words, assumes the relation of form to the real essence, and of essence to the embryo and unexpressed thought. Great value is attached to these letters and to the combinations and analogies of which they are capable. The tarot trumps furnishes a complete set of symbols, but the great difficulty hitherto experience in their attribution to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet is that these trump cards are numbered from 1 to 22. Is that right? Or 26. Accompanied by another card marked O, which has always been the stumbling block, being attributed by various people to various letters of the alphabet, depending apparently on their whim at any particular moment. It should be quite obvious that the only logical place for this 0 card is antecedent to I, and when so placed, the cards assume a definite sequential meaning profoundly explanatory of the letters. It is essential here to make a remark regarding the nature of the symbols revealed by the tarot and utilized by the Zohar and Sefer Yetzirah. The symbolism, which so often definitely and decidedly phallic, is merely utilized in order to make cosmic and metaphysical conceptions and processes more readily comprehensible to the human mind. Blavatsky, and on this account attacked the Kabbalistic modes of expression in heated vituperations. Her indignation was quite unnecessary, for in the Kabbalah no lascivious method of interpretation has ever been used. I cannot undertake satisfactorily to account for her dislike of the Kabbalah. The only explanation which seems even remotely possible is that, issuing as she did from a noble family in Russia where anti-Semitism was rife in her day, any and everything that smacked of Jewish savior was thoroughly objectionable. Her repeated attacks on the Zoharists, plus her real ignorance of the books of the Kabbalah, corroborated by the fact that she quotes mainly from Levi, who knew but little of it, and Cor von Rosenthroth, both of whom were Roman Catholics, may perhaps be explained in this manner. Phallic symbolism was used very largely because it was conceived that the creative process in the macrocosm is parallel in a marked degree to that in the little world of man. Nicholas Roerich's excellent travel book entitled The Altai Himalaya gives a fine appreciation of this viewpoint. Observe how remarkable are the physiological comparisons traced by the Hindus between cosmic manifestations and the human organism. The womb, the navel, the phallus, and the heart, all these long since have been included in the fine system of development of the universal cell. And while on the subject of phallicism, one is obliged to refer to C.J. Jung's Psychology of the Unconsciousness, according to which there is a gross misunderstanding of the term sexuality. By the latter, Freud understands love and includes therein all those tender feelings and emotions which have had their origin in primitive erotic source, even if now their primary aim is entirely lost and another substituted for it. And it must also be borne in mind that the psychoanalysts themselves strictly emphasize the psychic side of sexuality and its importance besides its somatic expression. The Sefer Yetzirah states 22 basal letters. He drew them, hewed them, weighed them, interchanged them, and formed by their means the whole creation and everything that should be subsequently created. This quotation is This quotation is fundamental in the number philosophy of the Kabbalah, indicating that the existence of these letters and the impress which they leave in every particle of creation constitutes the harmony of the cosmos. The idealistic position that thoughts are things is analogous, and in the Sefer Yetzirah, the 22 letters or sets of ideas are observed to be the underlying forms and essences which go to make up the whole manifested universe in all its variety. The tree of life consists of the 32 paths of wisdom, of which the 10 sephiros are considered to be the main paths or branches, whose correspondences are by far the most important, and the 22 letters the lesser paths, connecting the sephiros, harmonizing and equilibrizing the concepts attached to the various numbers. In dealing In dealing with these remaining 22 paths, the same procedure will be followed as with the Sephiros, going over each item, giving several correspondences, paying particular attention to the shape and meaning of the letters. Together, with relevant matter concerning their pronunciation which seems never to have been systematically presented before in treatises on the number philosophy of the Kabbalah. First letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph. Path number 11 on Tree of Life, joining Keser to Chokmah, numerical value 1. Some claim to find a satisfactory explanation of the origin of this letter in that it represents an ox yoke, or the head of an ox, the horns forming the top part of the letter. This is highly significant, for the letter, when pronounced as Aleph and spelt in full, Alf, means an ox or bull, Aleph, but spelled Alf. Aleph means an ox or bull, an admirable symbol to denote the generative power of nature. To Aleph is attributed the swastika, almost in shape or the thunderbolt of Thor, an excellent glyph to express the concept of the primeval motion of the great breath, whirling chaos into a creative center. Aleph partakes of the nature of Keser and is called the scintillating intelligence. Hur-Pakrat, the Egyptian lord of silence, depicted as holding his finger to his lips, is attributed here, as are Zeus and Jupiter, with particular reference to that aspect of these two gods as elemental portions of nature. The Hindu attribution is the Maruts or Vayu, having reference to the airy aspects of Aleph, as also do the Valkyries of the Scandinavian pantheon. The animal appropriate to Aleph is the eagle, the king of the birds, since we learn from classical mythology that the eagle was sacred to Jupiter, whose sacrifices, I may add, generally consisted of bulls and cows. Its element is air, rushing aimlessly hither and thither, also pressing or tending in a downward direction. Its tarot trump is O, the fool, implying just this airy aimlessness of existence. The card depicts a person dressed like a jester bearing over his shoulder a stick, on which hangs a bundle. Before him yawns a gaping precipice, while a little dog yaps at his feet from beyond. On his tunic is the design of a will, which is spirit. Spiritus is the Latin word meaning air or breath. The fan, as a magical weapon, is attributed to Aleph, having an obvious reference to air. Its color is sky blue, its jewels topaz and chalcedony, and its perfume galbanum. B, or Bess, second letter of the alphabet, path number 12 on the tree, joining Keser to Binah. Numerical value is 2. B is a sound of internal activity. B is a sound of internal activity developing within a space closed by the lips and the mouth. B, see? Hence a symbolic house. Its pronunciation is Bess, translated by a house. The Sefer Yetzirah states that the letter B reigns in wisdom. Wisdom is naturally the god Hermes, and its planetary attribution follows as a consequence. Mercury, Thoth, and its cynocephalus, and Hanuman are included as correspondences. This path, denominated the transparent intelligence, partakes of both the nature of Chakma and Hod, both of which are mercurial. The alchemical conception of the universal mercury was that of a flowing, shifting, and unstable principle, ever changing. This may account for the baboon or monkey ever in attendance upon Thoth, for the monkey is restless, ever moving, and never still, typifying the human rush, which must be quieted. The rush. The Norwegian Odin, the infinite wanderer, would possibly be attributed here for precisely this reason. He is the spirit of life who, according to the legends, does not create the world himself, but only plans and arranges it. All knowledge issues from him, and he too is the inventor of poetry and the Norse runes. Its magical weapon is the caduceus wand, and which has particular reference to the phenomena of kundalini arising in the course of yoga practices, particularly dharana and pranayama. Its tarot card is I, the magician, who stands by a table on which are various magical implements, his sword, cup, pentacle, scepter, while in his right hand he holds an upraised wand. He points to the ground with his left hand, thus affirming the magical formula that which is above is like unto that which is below. Above his head, as an aureole or aureole or nimbus, is the mathematical sign of infinity. Since Mercury and Thoth are the gods of wisdom and magic, it is plain that this card is a harmonious attribution. Mastic, mace, and storax are the perfumes of this 12th path. The agate is its jewel, agate, vervain its sacred plant, the ibis its sacred bird, which ages ago was observed to have the curious habit of standing on one leg for long periods of time, and to the fertile imagination of the ancients this suggested the absorption in profound meditation. In yoga practice there is a posture called the ibis, wherein the practitioner balances himself on one leg. The ritual moreover addresses Thoth as the O thou of the ibis head. I must now refer to an important point of Hebrew grammar. The sound of certain of the letters in the Hebrew alphabet become changed when a dot called the dogish is placed within those letters. The letter B becomes changed to V. When the dot in the middle is omitted, thus this symbol as seen, it is imperative that this little detail be remembered, as it assumes great importance in later research work, it being within the experience of the writer that the researches of a certain highly learned Kabbalist have been hampered in a most extraordinary manner by this and similar facts having been omitted from this elementary training of Kabbalistic training. Omitted from his elementary Kabbalistic training. So again, it is imperative that this little detail be remembered, as it assumes great importance in research, that being within the experience of the writer that the researches of a certain highly learned Kabbalist have been hampered in a most extraordinary manner by this and similar facts having been omitted from his or her elementary Kabbalistic training. You're welcome. Third letter of the alphabet, which looks like a G, Gimel, path number 13 on tree joining Keser to Tiferet, numerical value of 3. By reference to this chart, it will be found that this path joins joins the first to the sixth Sephiros, crossing the abyss, which in Kabbalistic symbology is conceived to be a barren desert of sand wherein die the thoughts and empirical egos of men, birth-strangled babes, as the expression goes. Now, G Gimel is the letter given to this path, and when pronounced Gimel means a camel. The camel is the conventional ship of the desert. The title of this path is the uniting intelligence, and its Yetziatric attribution is to the moon, which brings us car, camel to car. Its tarot card, and that's why it's not a horse, a carriage. It's a car carriage, is because it comes from camel. Its tarot card is 2, the high priestess of the silver star, picturing a throned woman crowned with a tiara, the sun above her head, a stole on her breast, and the sign of the moon at her feet. She is seated between 2 pillars, one white male and the other black female, comparable to the right and left-hand pillars of the Tree of Life, and the Masonic Yakin and Boaz. In her hand is the scroll of the law. She is, in one sense, the Shekinah and Our Lady Babylon, according to another system. In the old Rosicrucian grade system, the supernal triad constitutes the inner college of masters and is called the Order of the Silver Star. Since the path of Gimel, or the moon, links the supernal triad with Tiferet, serving as the means of entry to the inner college, it will be observed that the tarot symbols are consistent, yet some students have allocated this card to Bes. Artemis, Hecate, Chomsky, and Chandra are the deities attributed, all of them being lunar goddesses. Its color is silver, the glistening color of the moon. Camphor and aloes are its perfumes, the moonstone and pearl being its jewels. The dog is sacred to Gimel, probably because the huntress Artemis always had hounds in abundance and in attendance. The bow and arrow, for the same reason, is its symbolic magical instrument. When the dogish is omitted, the Gimel has a soft sound similar to the English J. So, dogish. D, or Dallas, another Jewish word in America. Fourth letter of the alphabet, path number 14, joining Chokmah to Binah, numerical value of 4. Since this path joins in the region of the supernals, the father to the mother, we would logically anticipate correspondences expressing the attraction of the positive for the negative and the love of the male for the female, whereby the yod and the he primal unite. Its astrological attribution is Venus, the Lady of Love. The pronunciation of this letter as Dallas means a door, which even in the Freudian symbolism possesses the significance of the womb. The colors are green and emerald green. The jewels are the emerald and turquoise. The flowers myrtle and rose. The birds being the sparrow and dove, and the magical Appurtenance is the girdle, in view of the legend that whosoever wore Aphrodite's girdle became an object of universal love and desire. The title of this 14th pass is the Luminous Intelligence, and its gods are Aphrodite, Lalita, the sexual aspect of Sakti, the wife of Shiva, and the sweet low-browed Hathor, who is a cow goddess. To attempt to illustrate once more the implication of the idea of a god, I quote an apt remark, which should be borne in mind and applied throughout, from the Notes on the Hippolytus of Euripides by Gilbert Murray. The Aphrodite of Euripides' actual belief, is one may venture to dogmatize on such a subject, was almost certainly not what we should call a goddess, but rather a force of nature or spirit working in the world. To deny her existence, you would have to say not merely there is no such person, but there is no such thing, and such a denial would be a defiance of obvious facts. The goddess of love in the Norse myths was Freyja, the daughter of Njord, a Jupiterian tutelary deity. The tarot card is the 3, the Empress, who bears in her right hand a scepter, being a globe surmounting a cross. The astrological sigil of Venus, her robe repeats this symbol, and at the side of her throne is a heart-shaped shield bearing also the sign of Venus. Facing her is a field of corn, emphasizing the fact that she is a goddess not only of love but of agriculture. She wears a green garland upon her head and a necklace of pearls. For some slight explanation as to how agriculture could be associated with the goddess of love, I must refer my readers to the Problems of Mysticism by Dr. Silberer, in which book will be found valuable material. At the same time, I am not to be understood as endorsing the entirety of Silberer's conclusions. As I have indicated, Problems of Mysticism may intimate to the careful reader how the association might have ensued. Dallas is a double letter, and consequently is pronounced a heavy th as in th, and lather when with dajish. Or H, the 5th letter of the alphabet, path number 15, joining Chakma to Tifaraz with a numerical value of 5. Its pronunciation is Ha, which means a window. Its Yetziatric title is the Constituting Intelligence, and its astrological attribution is Aries, the sign of the ram, ruled by Mars, and in which the sun is exalted. Its attributions are hence fiery and martial. Its gods are Athena, insofar as she protected the state from its enemies, and Shiva and Mars. Minerva is also an attribution, for she was believed to have guided men in war, where victory was to be gained by prudence and courage and perseverance. The Egyptian Mentu is also a god of war, depicted with the head of a hawk. The Scandinavian Tyr is an attribution to this path, for he is the most daring and intrepid of the gods, and it is he who dispenses valor, courage, and honor in the wars. The sphere is the weapon appropriate, the flower geranium, and the jewel ruby because of its color. The tarot card is the 4 entitled the Emperor, or 5 entitled the Emperor, who has a red robe and is seated on a throne. In his crown are rubies, his legs forming a cross. His arms and head form a triangle. We have, therefore, the alchemical symbol of sulfur, a fiery, energetic principle, the Hindu gunam of Rajas, the quality of energy and volition. On the arms of his throne are carved 2 ram heads, showing that this attribution is harmonious. 6. Vav, or V. 6th letter of the alphabet, path number 16 of Antri, joining Chakma to Chesed, numerical value of 6. Vav is its pronunciation, and means a nail. It is used as a symbol of the phallus. This usage is confirmed by the zodiacal symbol or sign of the bull, which, as already pointed out, is a glyph of the universal reproductive force. The phallus in the mysticism of the Kabbalah is a creative symbol of a creative reality, the magical will. As an aid to the comprehension of this idea, I quote from Jung's Psychology of the Unconsciousness for a definition. The phallus is a being which moves without limbs, which sees without eyes, which knows the future, and is symbolic representative of the universal creative power existent everywhere. Immortality is vindicated in it. It is a seer, an artist, and a worker of miracles. This definition is particularly appropriate to the Chia, of which the Yilingam is the terrestrial symbol as well as vehicle. The attributions follow the astrological one very closely, for we find here the Egyptian Asar Amshet Apis, the fighting bull of Memphis who trampled on his enemies. The Orphic congregations at certain of their holiest secret convocations solemnly partook of the blood of a bull, according to Murray, which bull was by some mystery the blood of the Dionysius Zagreus himself, the bull of God, slain and sacrificed for the purification of man. And the Maenads of poetry and the mythology, among more beautiful proofs of their superhuman character, have always to tear bulls in pieces and taste of the blood. The reader will also recall to mind the fair promise of Lord Dasani's most interesting story, The Blessings of Pan. In India, we see the sacred bull revered as typifying Shiva. In his creative aspect, also as glyphed in their temples by an erect lingam. Here, the goddess of marriage and Hymen, the god carrying the nuptial veil, are also correspondences. So again, in India, we see the sacred bull revered as typifying Shiva in his creative aspect, also as glyphed in their temples by an erect lingam. Here, Hire, the goddess of marriage, and Hymen, the god carrying the nuptial veil, are also correspondences. I wanted to make sure we said that clearly for you. Thank you, readers, for your patience and for enjoying this presentation. V, the Hierophant, is the tarot attribution. He is represented as raising his right hand in the sign of benediction over the heads of two ministers, and in his left hand he bears a wand of sacerdotal staff surmounted by a triple cross. At his feet are two keys, those of life and death, which solve the mysteries of the existence. Vav is also the son of the Tetragrammaton, Bacchus or Christ in Olympus, heaven, saving the world. It also represents Parzival as the king priest in Mont Salvat, celebrating the miracle of redemption. The name Bacchus is a derivative from a Greek root meaning a wand. Together with his many names of Bromios, Zagreus, and Sabazios, he has many shapes, especially, so says Professor Gilbert Murray, appearing as a bull and a serpent. Many of the correspondences to Tifras, the six Sephiros, have a close connection with the 16th path. Adonis, Tammuz, Mithras, and Attis are further allocations. Storax is the perfume, mallow the plant, and topaz its jewel. Indigo is the color of this path. Depending entirely upon where the dagesh is placed, this letter can be either U or O or V. Z, seventh letter of the alphabet, path number 17. Joining Binah and Tepharos, numerical value 7. Zayin means a sword, and in examining the shape of the letter, one could imagine that the top part of the letter was the hilt and the lower part the blade. In astrology, it is a sign of Gemini, the twins. All twin gods are therefore attributed to this path. Rect and Murti of the Hindus and Castor and Pollux of the Greeks, Apollo is also a correspondence, but only in that aspect of him as the diviner, having the power to communicate the gift of prophecy to both gods and men. Nietzsche, in his Birth of Tragedy, says of Apollo that not only is he a god of all shaping energies, but also is the soothsaying god. He who, as the etymology of the name indicates, is the shining one. The deity of light also rules over the fair appearance of the inner worlds of fantasies. The higher truth, the perfection of these states, in contrast to the only partial intelligible everyday world, the deep consciousness of nature, healing and helping in sleep and dream, is at the same time the symbological analog of the faculty of soothsaying and in general of all the arts through which life is made possible and worth living. Janus is an attribution, since he is represented with two faces, each looking in different directions. Hupakrat is an attribution again, principally because he sums up the two twin gods of Horus, the Lord of Strength, and Harpocrates, the Lord of Silence, in one deific personality. Zayin is called in the Sefer Yetzirah the disposing intelligence. All hybrids are attributed here. Its bird is the magpie, and alexandrite and tourmaline its precious stones. Its color is mauve, and its plants are all forms and species of orchids. The tarot card is the VI, the lovers. Ancient pacts describe this as representing a man between two women, who are vice and virtue, Lilith, the wife of the evil Samael, and Eve. Modern cards, however, show a nude male and female figure with an angel or a cupid with outspread wings hovering above them. Che, or Ches, which is the 8th letter of the alphabet, path number 18, joining Bina and Gabra with a numerical value of 8. Ches, with a guttural ch, as in lux, a fence. In astrology, it is a sign of the crab, Cancer. It is Kefara, the beetle-headed god representing the midnight sun. In the ancient Egyptian astrology philosophy, Cancer was considered to be the celestial house of the soul. Mercury, in his aspect of the messenger of the gods, and Apollo in his role of the charioteer, and other attributions. The north correspondence is Hermod, the envoy of the gods, the son of Odin, who gave him a helmet and a corselet which Hermod wore when dispatched on his dangerous missions. Unfortunately, the Hindu gods are not sufficiently determinate to enable one to make an attribution from their number with any degree of satisfaction unless we decide upon Krishna in his role of driving the chariot of Arjuna to the battle of Kurukshetra, as described in the Mahabharata. The tarot card is most interesting one. The tarot card is the most interesting one, VII, the chariot. It denotes a chariot, the canopy of which is blue and decked with stars representing Nuit, the night sky, blue, space, and Our Lady of the Stars. In the chariot is a crowned and armored figure, on whose forehead glitters a silver star, the symbol of spiritual rebirth. On his shoulders are mounted two crescents, the waxing and waning moon. Drawing the chariot are two sphinx, one white, the other black, representing the conflicting forces in his being which he mastered. On the front of the chariot is a glyph of the lingam, his regenerated or sublimated id or libido, surmounted by the winged globe, his transcendental ego, with whom he has become united. The whole card adequately symbolizes the great work, that process by which a man comes to know the unknown crown, and attains to the knowledge and conversation of his holy guardian angel, perfect self-integration and consciousness. A word apropos, the libido. In this term Jung saw a concept of an unknown nature comparable to Henry Bergson's élan vital, a hypothetical energy of life, which occupies itself not alone in sexuality, but in various other physiological spiritual manifestations. Bergson speaks of this élan vital as a movement of self-creation, a becoming as the very stuff and reality of our being. Its sacred animal is the Sphinx, whose expression of enigma combining male, female, and animal qualities is an apt symbol of the great work brought to perfection. The Sefer Yetzirah names Ches the house of influence. The lotus is its flower, Anya Cha its perfume, maroon its color, and amber its jewel. T, or Tes, the 9th letter of the alphabet. Path number 19, joining Chesed and Chabra. Number value of 9, the 9th letter of the alphabet, Tes. Those paths on the tree which are horizontal and join together a male and female sephirah are termed reciprocal paths. The 14th path was the first of these. This 19th path is the second, linking might with mercy, justice with love. This letter means a serpent. Its zodiacal sign is a symbol seen as such. Leo, the lion, Pasht, Seket, and Mal are attributed because they are cat goddesses. Ra-Hu-Kuit is another correspondence representing the sun which rules Leo. Demeter and Venus as agricultural goddesses are also attributed to Tess. Its animal is, of course, the lion, its flower, the sunflower, its jewel, the cat's eye, and its perfume, ala banam. Purple is its color. Its tarot card is the VIII, strength, showing a woman crowned and girdled with flowers, calmly and without apparent effort, closing the jaws of a lion. In view of the serpent and lion correspondences, some authorities assume a phallic connotation for Tess. The serpent and the lion are of particular importance in the study of alchemical literature. In modern psychoanalytic theory, the serpent is lucidly recognized as a symbol both of the phallus and the abstract concept of wisdom. 10th letter, Yod, or Y. Path number 20, joining Chesed to Tiferaz, numerical value of 10. Yod, a hand, or rather the pointed index finger on the hand with all the other fingers closed. It, too, is a phallic symbol representing the spermatozoon, or the unconscious secret will essence, libido, and in the various legends, the youth setting forth upon his adventures after receiving wand or attaining puberty. The magical weapons are the wand, in which the Freudian significance is clearly perceptible, the lamp, and the Eucharist host. The significance of the hand of God, or the Dayan Kahayanic consciousness, setting the world forces in motion, may also be read into this letter of Yod. The tarot card of IX, the hermit, gives a conception of an aged adept, cowled and robed in black, holding a lamp in his right hand, bearing a wand or staff in his left. The conception of this path as a whole is that of virginity, its astrological sign being the Virgo. We therefore attribute to it the unmarried Isis and Nephthys, both virgins. The Hindu equivalent is that of the Gopi cowgirls, or the shepherdesses of the Vrindavan, who became enamored with love of Sri Krishna. Narcissus, the beautiful youth, inaccessible to emotions of love, and Adonis, who was the youthful beloved of Aphrodite, in other correspondences, bowed there as the beautiful virgin god residing in the heavenly mansion called Breidablik, into which not unclean could enter, is undoubtedly the Norse attribution. Its jewel is the perdot, its flower the snowdrop and narcissus, both implying purity and innocence, and its color is gray. The K, or Kaf, 11th letter, path number 21, joining Chesed to Nesak, numerical value of 20. This letter is pronounced Kaf, meaning a spoon or the hollow of one's hand. Receptive symbols, and therefore feminine, it is attributed to Jupiter, and it connects Chesed, the spear of two, to Nesak, which latter is the spear of Venus. The path of Kaf partakes both of the magnanimous and generous, expansive character of this symbol and the love nature of this symbol. It repeats on a considerably lower plane the attributions of Jupiter, Zeus, Brahma, and Indra already commented upon. Pluto is also attributed, since he is the blind giver of wealth, symbolical of the infinite and abundant prodigality of nature. In the northern sagas, we find that it is Njord who rules over the winds and storms and checks the fury of the sea and fire. He is, moreover, the guardian of wealth and gives possessions to those who call upon him. Kaf is entitled the conciliatory intelligence. Its jewels are lapis lazuli and amethyst, plants hyssop and oak, perfumes saffron and all other generous odors, and its color blue. The tarot card is X, the wheel of fortune, which in some packs is a wheel of 7 spokes, with a figure of Anubis on one side bearing a caduceus, and the other a demon with a trident. On the top of the circumference is a sphinx bearing a sword. The wheel represents the ever-whirling karmic cycle of samsara, of existence after existence, at one moment elevating us above princes and the kings of the land, and others throwing us below the level of slaves and the dust of the earth. On the wheel, at each of the cardinal points, are inscribed the letters tarot, and in between them the 4 Hebrew letters of the tetragrammaton. At each of the 4 corners of the card, seated on a cloud, is one of the creatures seen in vision by the prophet Ezekiel. When the dagesh is emitted, the letter has a guttural sound similar to that of chess. It has a final form, v's, for use at the end of words, and its numerical value as such is 500. L, Lamed, the 12th letter, path number 22, joining Gabra to Tefras, numerical value of 30. This letter Lamad means an ox goad or a whip, and would suggest such a translation by its shape alone. Its astrological sign, Libra, the scales, is its most important attribution and sum up the characteristics of the path. The tarot attribution is XI, justice, depicting a woman very somber, seated between 2 pillars, holding a sword in one hand, a pair of scales in the other. Its subsidiary tarot title is the daughter of the lords of truth, the rulers of balances. The Greek god is Themis, who in the Homeric poems is the personification of abstract law, custom, and equity, whence she is described as reigning in the assemblies of men and convening the assembly of the gods on Mount Olympus. Its Egyptian god bears out the idea of justice, for she is Mat, the goddess of truth, who in the Book of the Dead appears in the judgment scene of the weighing of the heart of the deceased. Nemesis, too, is a correspondence, as she measured out mortals' happiness and misery, and here, too, is the Hindu concept of Yama, the personification of death and hell, where men had to expiate their evil deeds. The plant of Lamed is aloe, its animal the spider and elephant, its perfume is galbanum, and its color blue. Its Yetziatric title is the faithful intelligence. M, our Mem, 13th letter, our path number 23, joining the Gabra to Had, numerical value of 40. Mem is the pronunciation meaning water. It is given also the element of water. In its shape, some authorities perceive the waves at the sea. Its gods are Tumpta, Armath, combining the idea of the god of the setting sun, the kings of the gods, and a purely elemental divinity. Poseidon and Neptune are again attributed as representing water and seas. Mem is called the stable intelligence, and its color is sea green. The cup and sacramental wine, Soma, the elixir of immortality, is the magical equipment for ceremonial. The so-called cherubs of water are the eagle, snake, and scorpion, representing the unredeemed man, his magical force, and his final salvation. All water plants and the lotus are proper correspondences. Aquamarine or beryl is its precious stone, and onycha and myrrh its perfumes. The tarot attribution is XII, the hanged man, a most curious card representing a man in a blue tunic hung head downwards, surrounded by a golden halo. From a T-shaped gibbet by one foot, the other being bent behind the knee, suggesting a cross. His arms are tied behind his back, forming a triangle base downwards. It is the formula of the Savior, bringing light to the men of earth. Mem has a final form of value of 600. N, or Noon, the 14th letter, path number 24, joining Tifros to Nitzak, a numerical value of 50. Pronounced noon and means a fish, the correspondences again appear to follow the astrological interpretation, which is M. Scorpio, the reptile fabled to sting itself to death. Mars rules Scorpio, and its Greek god is therefore Mars. Its Roman god Ares, Apep, the Egyptian god, and immense serpent, is attributed here. Kundalini is the Hindu goddess representing the creative force, libido, coiled up as a serpent at the base of the spine. In the so-called lotus of Muladhara chakra, its magical formula is regeneration through putrefaction. The alchemists of old used this formula mainly. The first common matter of their operations was base and had to pass through several stages of corruption, or putrefaction, or chemical change, as it would be styled today, when it was called the Black Dragon, but from this putrid stage the pure gold was derived. Another application of the same formula applies to that psychological state of which all mystics speak, viz., the spiritual dryness or the dark night of the soul, wherein all one's powers are held temporarily in abeyance, gathering in reality strength to shoot up and blossom forth in the light of the spiritual sun. Its sacred animal is therefore the beetle, representing the Egyptian god Khepra, the beetle god of the midnight sun, symbolizing light and darkness during the mystical state, referred to the whole of one's inner life appears in the most heartbreaking manner conceivable to be torn asunder. The tarot attribution XIII, death, continues this conception, picturing a black skeleton mounted on a white horse, reminding us of one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, armed with a scythe, mowing down all and everything with which he comes into contact. Its yet theatric title is the imaginative intelligence, and its jewel snakestone. Color beetle brown. Perfume Apopanax. Its plant cactus and all poisonous growths. This letter too has a final form, the numerical value of which is 700. S are Samek, the 15th letter, path number 25, joining Tifraz and Yesod, numerical value of 60. This letter means a prop. The path is attributed to the zodiac symbols of Sagittarius, the arrow, and is called the tentative intelligence. Sagittarius is essentially a hunting sign, and Diana, as the celestial archer and the goddess of the chase, finds her place in this category. Apollo and Artemis, as hunters with the bow and arrow, are also included. The symbol of Sagittarius is the centaur, half man and half beast, who is traditionally connected with archery, and the horse too is a correspondence of Samek. The plant appropriate is the rush, used for making arrows. Perfume, the linalois, and green is the color. The rainbow is also a correspondence of Samek, and in this connection the god Ares is attributed. The tarot attribution is XIV, the temperance card, showing an angel crowned with the golden sigil of the sun, clothed in beautiful white robes, and on his beast are written the letters of the tetragrammaton over a white square wherein is a golden triangle. He pours a blue liquid from a gilt chalice into another. This path leads from Yesod to Tifras, the sphere of the sun, the angel of the tarot, which typify the holy guardian angel to whom man aspires. The keynote of the astrological sign, the arrow pointing heavenwards, is aspiration, and the sigil of the sun and the gilt triangle over the heart of the angel all point to the object of aspiration, representing Asar un Nefer, man made perfect. Hardly any doubt can be entertained as to the correctness of these tarot allocations. Its stone is jacinth, which in reality refers to the beautiful boy Hyacinth, who was killed accidentally by Apollo with a quoit. O are Ayin, the 16th letter, path number 26, joining Tifras to Had, numerical value of 70, pronounce Ayin with a slight nasal twang, and means an eye, referring to the eye of Shiva, said to be atrophied to the pineal gland. Astrologically, it is this symbol, or the Copernicus, the mountain goat, leaping forward with upwards boldly without fear, yet remaining close to the hilltop. Its symbol again are both the yoni and the lingam, and its gods are emblematic of the creative forces of nature. Kem is the Egyptian creative principle, almost always shown with the head of a lustful goat. Priapus is the Greek god insofar as he was the god of sexual fecundity, and fruitfulness. Pan, when represented as the goat of the flock, raving and raping, ripping and rending, everlasting, is attributed here too. Bacchus, the jovial representative of the reproductive and intoxicating power of nature, is another correspondence. Hemp, from which hashish is a derivative, is attributed because of its intoxicating and ecstasy-producing qualities. Yin represents the spiritual creative force of Godhead, which, should it become openly manifest in a man, makes of him Agapan, the all. This path is symbolic of the man-god, eager and exalted, consciously aware of his true will, and ready to set out on his long and wearisome journey of redeeming the world. The tarot card XV, the devil, showing a winged goat-headed satyr with a pentagram on his brow, pointing upwards with his right hand and his left hand clutching a flaming firebrand pointing downwards to his throne, are chained a nude male and female figure, both having the horns of a goat. The jewel appropriate to the 26th path is the black diamond, the animals of the goat and ass. It will be remembered that Jesus is pictured in the Gospel as riding into Jerusalem astride an ass. As if my memory serves me correctly, there is reference somewhere in Dionysius to riding an ass. Its title is the Renovating Intelligence, its perfume musk, and its color black. P, the 17th letter, path number 27, joining Netzach to Had, numerical value of 80. The reader will note that it is by shape similar to kaf, meaning the hollow of the hand with the addition of a little tongue or yod. The meaning of peh is a mouth. It is the third of the reciprocal paths. The Yeshiatic title is the natural intelligence. Its astrological attribution is Mars, and therefore this path repeats to a large extent the attributions of the sphere of Gubaral, although on a less spiritual plane. Horus, the hawk-head lord of strength, Mentu, the god of war of the Egyptians, Ares and Mars of the Greeks and Romans, and all other warrior gods are the deity attributions. Krishna and the charioteer to the Kuru-Kshitra battle is the Hindu correspondence. Odin, too, was portrayed in the North myths as a war god and sent to the Valkyries to welcome the fallen heroes to the festive boards of Valhalla. Anderson, in his Norse mythology, says that the Valkyries are the handmaidens of Odin, and the gods of war sends his thoughts and his will to the carnage of the battlefield in the form of mighty armed women, in the same manner as he sends his ravens all over the earth. Its metal is iron, its animals the bear and wolf, its jewels the ruby and any other red stone, its plants rue, pepper, and absinthe, its perfume pepper and all pungent odors, and its color red. The tarot card appropriate is the XVI, the tower, the upper part of which is shaped like a crown. It is alternately called the House of God, and its subsidiary title is the Lord of the Hosts of the Mighty. The card illustrates the tower being struck by a vivid zigzag flash of lightning which has demolished the top, and red tongues of flame lick the three windows from which two figures have jumped. This letter has, with the letter Kaf, particular reference to a magical formula which is admirably suited to the grade of Adeptus Major. When the Dagish is omitted from this letter, it is pronunciated as RF. Its final form is 800. TS, Tasadi, the 18th letter, path number 28, joining Nitzak to Yasad, numerical value of 90. Tasadi, a fishhook, its astrological attribution is Aquarius, the sign of the water bearer. This idea continues in the tarot card, which is the XVII, the star, depicting a nude female kneeling by a body of water, pouring water from two jugs held one in each hand. Above her are 7 8-pointed stars surrounding a larger star. The subsidiary title is the Daughter of the Firmament, the dweller between the waters. This path is distinctly feminine, joining Venus to the moon, and both feminine influences, and Juno, the Greek goddess who watches over the female sex and was regarded as the genius of womanhood. It is its main attribution. Athena as the patroness of both useful and elegant arts. The arts are the astrological characteristics of the native of Aquarius. It is a correspondence, as is Ganymede, also because of his almost feminine beauty and because he was the cupbearer. Hapi and Aurorus are the Egyptian equivalents. The plant of Tasadi is the olive, which Athena is believed to have created for mankind. Its animal, the eagle, which is said to have carried Ganymede away to Olympus, its perfume Gabanum, and its color sky blue. Its Yetziratic title is the natural intelligence. The jewel is the Chalcedony, suggesting as it were the soft watery clouds and the stars by appearance. Tasadi has a final form of 900. Q, or Kaf, the 19th letter, path number 29, joining Nitzak to Malchus, numeric value of 100. Pronunciation is Kaf, meaning the back of the head. Its Yeshiatic title is the Corporeal Intelligence, and its attribution is Pisces, the sign of the fishes. This path is a very difficult one to describe, as it undoubtedly refers to some aspect of the astral plane, and it is also a phallic symbol, the fish referring to the spermatozoa swimming in the foundation of one's being. Its Hindu attribution is Vishnu, as the Matsu are fish avatara, Neptune and Poseidon insofar as their realm of government includes the dominion where fish dwell, and Clefra, as the beetle or crab, are other correspondences. All these symbols conceal or relate to a species of magic which is allied to the application of the formula of tetragrammaton. Jesus of Nazareth is sometimes termed the Piscian, and readers will recall early Christian amulets upon which were inscribed the Greek word ichthys, meaning fish, and having reference to the personality recognized as the Son of God by the Christian churches. The Babylonian teacher of wisdom, Aulons, likewise was represented in phallic fish form. Its sacred creature is the dolphin, its color buff, and its jewel the pearl. The pearl is referred to Pisces because of its cloudy brilliance as contrasted with the transparency of other jewels, thus reminding one somewhat of the astral plane with its cloudy forms and semi-opaque visions as opposed to the flashes of formless light appearing to purely spiritual planes. The XVIII, the moon, is its tarot card describing a midnight landscape on which the moon is shining, standing between two towers, a jackal and a wolf with muzzles pointed in the air, howl at the moon, and a crayfish or crab crawls out of the water onto dry land. R, Resh, the 20th letter, path number 30, joining Ha to Yasad and a numerical value of 200. Resh is its pronunciation and means ahead. The sun is attributed to this path, and the symbols are clearly solar. Ra, Helios, Apollo, and Surya are all gods of the solar disk. Yellow is the color given to Resh. Cinnamon and olibanum are its perfumes, obviously solar. The lion and the sparrowhawks are its animals. Gold is the appropriate metal, the sunflower, heliotrope, and laurel being its plants. Chrysolite is its jewel, suggesting the golden color of the sun. Its title is the collecting intelligence. The tarot card XIX, the sun, corresponds beautifully. It seems extraordinarily difficult to believe that some writers on the Kabbalah attribute this card to the letter Kaf. The card depicts a blazing sun above the crowned and conquering child Horus, who rides triumphantly on a white horse, a symbol of the Kalkayavatara. In the background of the card are several sunflowers, which again point to the solar nature of the allocation. The Sefer Yetzirah denominates Resh a double letter, but I have been unable to discover any sound other than R for this letter, nor is any other so recognized by modern Hebrew grammarians. Perhaps the French form of R, pronounced with a decided roll, is the sound in question. Our Shin, 21st letter, the path number 31, joining Had to Malchus, numerical value of 300. Shin means a tooth, probably with reference to a three-pronged molar. This letter takes a dagish on when the latter is on the left side. V's, seen, it is pronounced as an S. Fire is its Yetziratic element. In Hebrew is fire being most prominent in pronunciation and is symbolized by this sibilant letter W, or W-looking form, because one characteristic of fire is its hissing sound, and the equivalent in Hebrew for sibilant is a word which also means hissing. The implication of this path is that of the Holy Spirit descending in tongues of fire, reminding one of the apostles of Christ at Pentecost, and all its attributions are fiery. Agni is the Hindu god of Chihas, the Tattva, or element of fire. Hades is the Greek god of the fiery nether regions, as also are Vulcan and Pluto. Its Egyptian gods denote fiery elemental divinities, Thumb, Asnith, Kabishunt, and Tarpeshith. Its plants are the red poppy and hibiscus. Knowing the above attributions, one well understands and feels the plaintive cry of the poet, "Crown me with poppy and hibiscus." The jewel of this path is the fire opal, and its perfumes olibanum and all fiery odors. The Sefer Yetzirah title is the perpetual intelligence. The tarot correspondence is XX, the last judgment, showing the angel Gabriel blowing a trumpet bearing a banner on which is a red cross. The dead break open their tombs and stand erect. looking upwards, directing their arms in prayer to the angel. The 22nd letter, Tav, path number 32, joining Yesod to Malka's numerical value of 400. This letter means a T-shaped cross when without a dogish is pronounced an S. This path represents both the lowest dregs of the astral plane, to which is attributed Saturn as the great astrological malefic, and the universe in toto, represented by Brahma, and Pan as the sum total of all existence and intelligence. In the latter category of Cassia Arge, the personification of the earth, there is also the Norse Vidar, whose name indicates that he is the imperishable nature of the world, linked to the immensity of the indestructible forest, and like the Greek Pan, he is the representative of the silent, secret, and peaceful groves. Anderson again implies that Vidar is the eternal, wild, original nature, the god of imperishable matter. Saturn, at early Italian god, is an earth deity too. He, having taught the people agriculture, suppressed their savagery, and introduced them to civilization. In connection with however, we have Sebek, the crocodile god, signifying the grossest form of matter, and such correspondences as Asafatida and all evil odors, and the Hindu Tamu Gunam, the quality of slothfulness and inertia. Its color is black, its plants the ash and nightshade, and its Yetsiadric title, the administrative intelligence. The tarot card is XXI, the world, showing within a flowery wreath a female figure who has come to be known as the Virgin of the World, giving this path added significance since it descends upon Malchus, to which the Zohar allocates the final He, the daughter, who is a reflection below of the Shekinah on high. At the four corners of the cards are the four cherubic animals of the apocalypse, the man, the eagle, the bull, and the lion. Tav. Excuse me. This concludes this portion of the audiobook. Thank you for viewing. Again, we will begin this audiobook at chapter 5. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you have not. This audiobook is not yet available on YouTube, so I have taken the liberty to make it available. The language presented, as you can see, is very complicated. It's at a very high level. I am doing my best to provide a decent pronunciation and narration on this title. In fact, it's very difficult, and its dialogue is very old world style, having been written in the 1930s by somebody who was, educated perhaps most likely in the 1920s, and having been raised around people who would clearly lived during the 1800s, who had been raised so on and therefore forth by people of older generations with a different type of dialogue and narrative style. So I do appreciate your patience, and I do hope that this provides some type of ease of access to this title. Please subscribe and consider donating to the channel. Note, this channel does not receive funds in any form at this time. Please consider contributing and donating on PayPal. A link will be available in the description. Take care.